Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are actually interviewing Danielle and Sandra with Colegio, Rainha and Leonor. We're actually going to go into detail about the national exams that are taking place in 11th and 12th grade, and as well as the entrance for universities. Well guys, thank you so much for being on my YouTube channel.
Welcome once again.
I'm sure you've already seen the videos with Sandra, and this is her husband who also actually works here at Colegio. And we are going to dive right into all of the testing questions. Okay, so if you guys have not watched the previous videos, there is a national exam that is taking place in year 11th and 12th. So we can kind of go a little bit backwards and see about choosing the course. I know we already talked about it in the previous video, but we'll just highlight it again in case you didn't see it. Is it grade 10th or grade 9th that you choose the area of specialty?
Okay, so you choose the area in the end of grade 9. We prepare that with our psychologist. She works with students beginning usually in January with small interviews with some questions regarding what children like. Well, they're not children anymore, they're teenagers.
Right.
What they like to do, which subjects are they better in. And then in the end of grade 9, they choose the area of studies in secondary school.
Can you kind of go into detail about the areas of specialty that they can choose?
Yes. There are two paths that they can choose. One more general and one more specific. The specific is called those training courses that prepare students to begin to work after they finish grade 12. It doesn't mean that they can't go to university, but it is more specific. For example, we have a training course in sports, so more than 60% of their schedule are in that area. So you really have to like what you are doing. Then you have 4 different areas in the general courses that are prepared to go to university. So we have sciences, economics, languages, and arts.
Okay, so let's just say hypothetically, my daughter wants to be a lawyer. Mm-hmm. Which specialty would you choose?
Okay, so if you go to the first area, science, you actually have all the options open. You can go to science and do it's usually the Portuguese National Exam, and you can go to law school. However, you can also do that if you use languages. It's the same thing. Of course, here it depends on the subjects that you like. For example, in that languages course, you have history and you don't have maths. So a student that isn't so keen in maths or doesn't like maths, he or she can go to languages and then just do the Portuguese National Exam and enter law school.
So would you say that science versus language is more intensive as far as the course is?
Well, it is. Of course, it depends on the student,
right.
And what he likes and his background, of course.
Okay.
But sciences has subjects that are very demanding.
They are very specific. Mm-hmm. Medical is specific. Mm-hmm. The students that want medical courses, they have to go to science because these subjects are very, very specific to the ones who can go to there.
Yes, so they will have maths, for example. They will have chemistry, and they will have biology because they are subjects that courses in health courses such as medicine. It's those subjects that have the national exams, and they are very demanding because of that, because they will decide if a candidate is admitted or not.
Okay, so they're already starting their concentration in the 10th grade. Then we have the 11th grade, that's when the national exam is going to be taking place, which is usually towards the end of the school year. Is that correct, or is it before?
No, normally, they decide if they are going to do the exam about February. The inscriptions period and they have to decide if they're gonna do, for example, in the science course, if they're gonna do only physics, or they do physics or biology, and they have to do it, and they have to apply to it and do it in the end of the year.
So the only reason for you to take this national exam or choose to take it is if you're planning on going to university and have decided what career path you're going to go down. Otherwise, you're looking at more of the vocational training,
Yes.
hands-on courses.
Yes, but we do have to clarify something, that there are two different rules. There is the pre-COVID rules and the post-COVID rules, and we don't know right now which rule is going to be taken in consideration in the next year. And this means that pre-COVID, every student in general courses had to do 4 different exams. 2 in grade 11 and 2 in grade 12, and it was mandatory. Even if the student chose not to go to university, the only way to have the diploma is with those 4 national exams concluded, with success, of course. Now from 2020, because of COVID, students had the opportunity to choose the national exams. So they would do 1 exam if they only needed 1, or none if they didn't want to go to university.
Okay, so as of right now, we don't know what's going to be a requirement for this upcoming school year. And usually when will they let you know, or will it be?
About February. We only know what is going to happen in June, in February.
But
Actually, we don't know, as Sandra said, we don't know if we're going to go back to the pre-COVID rules or we're going to stay with this one.
So, but February is also when you're supposed to sign up for the exams,
Yeah.
too.
Everything at the same time.
Yeah,
Okay.
it will all come up at once, yeah.
Okay, so in the worst case scenario, you have your children or have your students study for all 4 exams, hoping to only need to take 1 exam.
Yeah, they have to start studying right now, and then in February they will know if they need 1 or 2,
Okay.
or none.
So the exam is then taking place, when was that, June?
June,
June.
the first period in June, and the second one in July.
Okay, so let's go into detail about, I guess, the actual test in June. So let's just say hypothetically, we're still in the COVID era and you only need to take 1 exam. So how does that work? So let's just say they have to focus on Portuguese as one of their exams, or their only exam. So the test is taking place on a certain day across the nation?
Yeah.
Okay.
At this moment, we already know in which day the Portuguese exam, for example, is gonna happen. Calendar is already public, so the students can already organize and point to that date.
So is it taking place in the actual school here, or is it a separate place? Okay.
Yeah, our students do all the exams here.
Okay.
And it's a very confidential process. Just for you to have an idea, we receive the exams at 7:30, 7:40 a.m. by the police.
Oh.
Yes, it's
Wow.
very confidential.
And only
process.
a restricted number of people can receive the exam. It's a team that I am the coordinator. And the exam, when the police bring it to us, we have to put it in the vault.
The vault.
Okay. And it will only open the vault and bring the exams out by 9:15, and the exam is starting at 9:30.
And then how long is the exam itself?
It depends. Most of them 2 hours, and then a 30-minute period additional.
Okay.
30-minute period. But for example, maths is
2.5.
2.5.
2.5 plus the
Additional 30.
Yeah.
And is this all multiple choice, or is it?
No. It depends on the exam again, but it has a lot of comprehension. For example, we have the English National Exam already, also, and we have listening. They have to listen and to answer questions about the listening. They have to talk to each other, also in the speaking in the foreign language exam. But they have writing comprehension. They have a lot of type of questions, but also multiple choice. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So once they're done with the exam, How long does it take for them to get the results back?
Well, the first exam usually is around 16th, 17th of June. And this year they received in 2nd of August, I think.
No, the first period.
Oh, sorry.
The grades came out
July.
19th of July.
Yeah, 19th of July.
A month.
The other
Okay.
period was
From the start of the period to the grades, 1 month. Yeah.
So let's say you receive the test results back
Yeah.
and they're not as up to the standards as you expect it to be.
You have a short period after you know the first period grades. You have 2 days to apply to the next period of the exams.
So when is the next exam usually taken to retake it?
a few days after.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
After you know the grade of the first period, you have a week.
5 days,
Yeah.
yeah.
A week to the next exam.
and then you'll find out that results another month from then,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
It's like 3 to 4 weeks.
Wow, that's
Yeah, it's short. It's 2 months of intense study. Yeah.
okay.
That's why we are always saying don't study near the exams. You have to start now, right?
Right. If the COVID testing happens again, they only have that one test to take care of, and then hopefully pass and continue the 12th grade to then take another exam. Is that correct?
Yes. So thinking about a student that is in grade 11, he or she does the national exam. And then in grade 12, depending on what they want to do next, they can either do one more exam, 2, or none. If we remain in post-COVID rules.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just throw this scenario. Okay, so let's say we're still talking about the post-COVID rules. They have that one exam in the 11th grade, depending on whichever exam they chose. And then the 12th grade, they can have an option to take an exam or not take an exam,
Yeah.
depending on the subject that they
Depending
chose.
on the course of they want and the university. We have a student, for example, that has taken the physics test in the 11th. And I know that she's happy with it, but the grade was awesome. She will probably not take any exam if the rules don't change.
Because she does it, the only national exam that she needs is chemistry.
Okay, so to clarify this, based upon a website that I'll link in the description box below, depending on the school, the university that you choose, they'll tell you what is required to enroll in that university. So for instance, we were just talking about NAVA. We were talking about economics before this conversation. And we were talking about certain specialties or certain majors that you would apply for. They require a certain test or a certain exam. So for instance, one being just only Portuguese, being that exam. So in that case, if they took the Portuguese exam in the 11th grade and scored well.
They can't take in the 11th grade because Portuguese is a 3-year subject.
Okay.
So the national exam is in grade 12. The same thing for maths. Mathematics is also 3 years, so they only conclude the subject, all the contents, in the end of grade 12. So the national exam is in the end of grade 12. Chemistry is only 2 years, 10 and 11. That's why they can do the exam in grade 11.
Okay, so if they wanted to pass the national exam for Portuguese, do they have to take an exam in the 11th grade?
Not in post-COVID rules if they don't need anything else.
Okay. Interesting. So really a lot of this will stem upon whichever college that they want to go to.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then from there, they'll have an idea what exams they need to take and pass to be accepted into that university. Now, when the students are meeting with a psychologist in the 10th grade or the 9th grade, does the psychologist give them a list of schools or colleges that they recommend for that student, or how does that conversation usually work?
That period, that isn't the most important. The most important in the 9th grade is if the student can choose the area that he likes the most, he or she likes the most. After that, we have a lot of field visits. We go to Lisbon, to Porto, to Coimbra, and we visit a lot of universities so that the students can start deciding what they want. Okay?
Okay.
And there is a national fair that is called Futuralia. And the most important schools, colleges are reunited there, and they talk about what is to be a student there. We take our students there annual, and for all the secondary course, we are gonna try to make that student decide what he wants or he or she wants.
To which universities that they
Yeah.
want. Okay.
Yeah, and sometimes it's very important for a student to realize that there are universities in lots of cities in Portugal. We always think about Porto, Coimbra, and Lisbon, especially Lisbon. It's like a trend right now.
Right.
But there are good universities in Évora, Algarve, Covilhã. So there are lots of opportunities. Sometimes students' average can't take him to Lisbon, but can take him somewhere else, and he or she will be as happy and successful.
Okay, that's good to know. So it's good to know ideally how many universities are they allowed to apply for?
6.
Okay, so it's good to know your top 6 universities, preferably in the beginning of your 11th grade,
Yes.
so that you can know what the exams are required
Yeah.
for admission. Okay, so let's go pre-COVID era. So what were the exams like pre-COVID era, and in case it does revert back to taking those exams again? So how does it work then?
Well, in pre-COVID, all the students, whatever the course in they were, they had to do 4 mandatory exams, okay? So Portuguese and 3 more, and the other 3, it depends on the course. For example, in science, they have to do maths, that's a 3-year subject, and the other 2 depends on the subject that they chose, and they have to choose normally 2 of these 3, chemics, biology, and geometry. And of these 3, the 2 that they chose, they have to do mandatory exams always.
So in your 11th year, the two exams that you'll be taking, obviously it's not Portuguese because that's 12th grade.
The 2 that they chose.
Okay, so the two subjects that they chose, and then whether it's geometry and chemistry, they'll be taking those 2 courses or 2 exams. And then the 12th grade, you'll be taking Portuguese and mathematics.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so, and again, the same situation would apply in case you wanted to retake the exam. You have that option for each one of those exams. Okay, so let's talk about admission. So let's just say, we're talking about NAVA again. The acceptance rate, it really depends on the year. So Sandra was showing me a website that, again, I'll link below, how there was I forgot which one we were talking about.
Well, the first one was medical school at
231
in Lisbon. It was there were 233 admissions for 1,000 and something candidates.
I think it was like almost 2,000.
Almost 2,000. Yes.
Yeah, so that's
medical
to give
school.
Right. So just to give you an idea, it's very competitive. So if you are looking to go to medical school here, just know that you really do need a top grade, because I think the average of the top grade.
1845.
So 1845 out of 20. So you definitely have to work really hard, because it's spots are limited.
Medical faculty is popular here.
Yes.
Medical and some engineers. But it was what Sandra was saying. Lisboa is very popular. Yeah. But we also have a lot of good faculties, medical science in other cities. So
I know back in the States, if you go to college, like certain Ivy League colleges, it does kind of help you get your foot in the door with certain companies. Mm-hmm. Is that kind of the same scenario here in Portugal?
Yes. There are. I actually studied in Nova, but it's not because of that. But Nova is has a good reputation, and right now, especially in business economics school, there are lots of companies that already have a partnership with this university, and they are looking at future candidates for their company.
Okay.
It doesn't happen only with Nova. Of course, there are other universities. But yes, of course, there are companies that like to hire students from specific universities. But it really depends because, and I can think about my experience, what makes the decision to hire or not is the interview and
Right.
not where the university where the teacher comes from.
That's true. So, sorry, to jump back into the grades, because I feel like people are probably going to be questioning how the grading system works here. I know we talked about in the previous video, but in case you didn't watch that one, we'll kind of go into depth. So the grading scale goes up to a 20. So how does the grading scale work? Because I know with college admission, some colleges will accept 50% of your internal year-to-year grades, and then the other will be 50% your actual national exam. So how does that work when it comes to the grading cycle here?
So from 1 to 9, it's negative. So that means that a student that achieves a score lower than 10 isn't successful. So he will have to repeat or will have to have a better score the next year. It's actually something very specific, and it depends. And then 10 to 13 is like satisfactory. And then from 14 up, it's the better grades, of course. When you have a student, when a student achieves 17, 18, 19, 20, of course, then the options are better.
Okay. So really you're trying to aim for anything above 15.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then when it comes to national exam, how much assistance does the school provide as far as studying outside of their normal studying hours? Do you guys offer assistance when it comes to national exams, or should people look elsewhere?
Yes. We have two types of support. We have a support that is for the whole class. Each subject has an additional hour that students can attend for extra support. And then we have something more individual. And it is something that the teacher and the student, or for example, two students that have the same difficulty, they schedule specifically, it's a private lesson, and they have it. And this can be for a whole month, it can be only two weeks. It depends on what we are talking about. If it's a difficulty, if the student, if the grades came down and it's something, or for example, we had this situation, students that were absent and they need extra support on those subjects that they didn't attend. So there is support here at school.